quick scan of the audience. Thanks everybody for coming out and joining me this evening. First thing I'd like to do is kind of take a trip back to the past. I'd like to share with you an illustration. This is from the New York Times, and it's actually an advertisement that happened between the 1920s and the 1950s. And as you can see, it's a doctor smoking a cigarette, and it says, "More doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette." Well, I think about the only thing I can say is, what if we had known then what we know now? Wouldn't the world look like an entirely different place? And some of the ways the world would look different is that we now know that over 87% of lung cancers today are directly caused from smoking. And that is a statistic that comes from smokingstatistics.org. I encourage you to look that up sometime. There are a lot of very interesting facts about smoking on that website. We also know, according to the American Heart Association, that tobacco smoking, despite all that we've learned in the last few decades, remains the #1 cause of preventable disease and death in the United States today. And that comes directly from the AmericanHeart.org website. Very good resource. I have been a respiratory therapist for over 14 years, and I can say in that time I have worked with many patients that are suffering from chronic illnesses and lung cancer directly related to smoking. I've also in my personal life unfortunately lost some loved ones related to smoking. My mother-in-law, my grandfather, and also a brother-in-law. So I feel pretty passionate about the subject of giving folks the tools to help stop smoking. So today I'd like to give you some information about what are some of the deadly effects of smoking. We're also going to touch on the benefits of quitting, and then the abundance of resources that are available in your local area. Excuse me. So the cigarettes that are out there today are certainly not the same cigarettes that your grandmother and grandfather smoked. These cigarettes have over 4,000 chemicals in one cigarette, and we know from research that at least 40 of those chemicals are known cancer-causing agents. That's also another great fact from smokingstatistics.org. 1 out of every 5 deaths in this country is related to a smoking-related illness such as cancer, coronary heart disease, and the pulmonary diseases as well. Those are some of the long-term things, but what I'd really like to touch on is what are some of the day-to-day effects from smoking. One of the main things is that smoking leaves an odor, not only on your hair, your living space, but your breath. And this can affect the way that people perceive you in the world and in the workplace. In fact, there's a lot of employers nowadays that don't want to hire smokers because they know that the healthcare related cost and to insure smokers will be more than for someone who does not smoke. So, some of the other things that it puts you at increased risk of infections. Those things like bronchitis, the common cold, pneumonia. Your immune system is more susceptible to catching those things. Also, smoking affects your lung function and how you can do your day-to-day activities. You may not have the energy to be able to do the things you would like to do. If all those things aren't enough to persuade you, then I encourage you to also think about your family and your loved ones, because secondhand smoke can also make them sick as well, unfortunately. So we've talked about the long-term effects of smoking. We've also talked about the short-term effects, but now I'd like to talk about some of the resources that are available out there. Within a 100-mile radius of where you live are at least 3 programs at hospitals and health departments that are totally free. And they provide some of the nicotine replacement products, such as the patches and the gum, complimentary. Along with the medications, or excuse me, the nicotine replacement products, you'll also receive counseling and strategies for coping and problem solving that will help along with the nicotine replacement products. And the programs can also suggest medications that can be prescribed by your doctor as well. So today we have learned the terrible effects of smoking, long and short term. We've also covered the benefits of stopping, and there's always good benefits to quitting smoking at any time. And we've talked about the resources that are available in your local area, and which I'll be happy to provide you with more information when we're done. So I'd like to congratulate all of you because you've taken your first step in quitting smoking by just being open to the information today. And I'd like to encourage you to pass that information along to your family and friends. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it today.